we're going to explore that idea today. So, before we get cracking, here's some rules of the game. So, we're gonna, if you want a new result in life, you might need to adopt a new belief. You might need to learn something new. So what I ask, and look, I know a lot of you guys anyway, I know you're already open-minded, but keep your mind open. It's like I always say, if I were to give you a brand new jumper, try it on. If you don't like it, you can take it off, but at least try it on, right? So try on these new thoughts, these new beliefs, see how they sit with you, and then at the end of the day, you're in control of your own life, right? So you're going to get to choose what you do or do not believe and how you do or do not act. So keep an open mind. Also, the only failure is the failure to participate. So please put in 100% and you'll get 100%. Certainly in the second part of this, we're going to do a lot more interaction, where we're going to put our get our magnifying glass out. I'm going to act like detectives and try and uncover some of the true you and your true passions. Thirdly, be present. If it barks, meows, cries, lock it in under the stairs. If it buzzes or rings or beeps, then please turn it on silent, put it in another room, and just be present for an hour. Like I always say that, we spend so much time planning a holiday and so little planning our own life. Like, how much value do you think there would be in actually spending time working on you? If we can't do that for an hour, then, when can we do that? Do we really have the right to complain about our lives if we're not putting the energy and effort in ourselves to try and uncover and develop our passions? So we're going to hit the record button unless Dan's already clicked it, and let's get into it. So before we get into it, I just want you to type in the chat box. I want you to type in the chat box, what do you think you were put here on this earth to do? This is not religious chat, I'm not talking about that. What do you think your purpose is? What do you think your purpose is? So type in the chat box, what do you think your purpose is? Let's see what we've got coming out. We won't read out the names on this one. I know this is a bit of an out there question, and that's designed to challenge you to start with. But what do you think your purpose is? Type it in the chat box, and Dan, let's get a couple being read out. In it goes, guys. Type in the chat box. Okay, so we've got a genuinely not sure. Thank you for the honesty. Really good. Still trying to work it out. Nice. Okay, that's sort of good job you're on this webinar then. Hopefully we can help find you some answers for the end. What else? Anybody else? Yeah, we've got another. I really don't know. Okay, but we've got some clues here. I love working with other people. I love serving other people. That's great. What if there is no purpose? Really good question. Hopefully we'll get some answers for that towards the end. Okay, so the intentions for today is, when we're talking about success, one of the first steps is we want to find out true you. You may have all heard, you've got to do something that you're passionate about, that's truly you, that's truly your purpose. So today we want to help uncover that. So, big questions, but what do you want from life? Who are you? Another very big question. Mark Twain said there are two defining moments in life: the day you're born and the day you find out why. Hopefully today we can get a little bit closer to working that out. And thirdly, how do you start piecing it all together? So that's what we're going to cover today. And this is really going to be in two main sections. First, I'm going to start with a bit of an introduction about where I feel confusion started, where we started to move away from our true people and our true purpose. And then in the second half, it's going to be way more interactive, and we're going to we're going to work out what it is you need to do to uncover your true purpose. So, a warning before I get going, you're not going to get all the answers today. It's a process of discovery. And why should our purpose hit us like a lightning bolt? You know, surely so many things that are valuable, like diamonds or gold, they take time to mine for, they take time to uncover. They're not just, if our purpose and passion was just sitting there on top of the ground, easy to find, then, you know, we wouldn't have felt like we'd earned the finding of it. So today I'm going to give you the system. I'm going to show you how to start uncovering it. I like to think of our purpose as a present. So really we're looking at unwrapping this present. And I'm also going to be a little bit idealistic today. So what do I mean by that? I remember once going to a nutritionist, and he basically went and said, this is your ideal diet. This is what you should do, and you know, you shouldn't drink beer. And I was like, what? I shouldn't drink beer? Come on, I can drink beer. He's like, well, yes, you can drink beer, but I'm giving it to you straight. I'm giving you the ideal version, right? What you then should choose to do with that afterwards is up to you. So look, I respect that some of you may be not living your true selves at the moment. That's okay. And some of the stuff that I come up with may seem like you've got to change overnight, and that's not realistic. But I'm going to start by being a bit idealistic. So where does it all start? Where did the confusion start? So you see on this, on the right, for a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. So I remember being taught the story of the fox, the duck and the bird. And the fox, the duck and the bird, as they were kids, like when they were babies, they didn't really have any rules other than what their parents gave them, but they, you know, the bird just liked to fly, right? And the duck just liked to swim across the water, and the fox just loved to run. And they never questioned that because it was part of who they were. You know, they didn't ask permission for it. They just did it just through sheer enjoyment. But then they went to a school called the School of Averages. You know, and in their first year, the fox came top in running, and the duck came first in the swimming, and the bird came first in flying. But then when it came to the first parents' evening, the reports came back that, you know, the bird was terrible at swimming, and the duck was not good at running, and the fox was not good at flying. You know, and unfortunately the school, and I'll come on to a bit more about this in a minute, but like the school system isn't always geared up to make us our best selves. I have a belief that, you know, school puts us in batches, it lines us up in rows and columns, and it does its best to make sure nobody stands out too much. You know, I have a belief that if you're great at running, then learn to run. Yeah, don't let your weaknesses hold you back, but that's not really how school taught us. You know, so after, you know, in the second year, the fox was forced to swim, and the duck was forced to fly, and the bird was forced to swim. And of course, by the time they got to the end of their school career, they were just all average at everything, and the duck had painful feet, and the fox had forgotten how to run, and the bird couldn't fly anymore. You know, so I really feel that as good an intention as school is, it doesn't always help bring out the best in us. So I have to say at this point, I loved school. I had an amazing time at school, and I'm very grateful for school, and I have close mates who are school teachers, who I respect hugely. But what I do also believe is that the school system needs a complete overhaul. Okay, school doesn't help develop our passions in the way I feel it should. What we end up with is people at the end of school who are an average of the person they really could be. And as Einstein says, if everybody's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. Okay, so that's one of the elements I believe in our past that has contributed to us being, you know, like the fox who just really was designed to run, but by the end of school just really didn't know what he was anymore. And so staying with the school theme again, In 1983, a guy called Howard Gardner came up with the idea that there are actually 9 types of intelligence. Right, 9 different types of intelligence. In fact, last year he said he was considering adding a 10th, which would be based around the intelligence of being able to teach, actually. But if you look at these 9 types of intelligence, we have spatial, naturalist, musical, logical, mathematical, existential, interpersonal, bodily, kinesthetic, linguistic, and intrapersonal. Now look, I'm not saying this view is shared by every single psychologist or every single teaching expert, but I think when we look at it, we can realize that, you know, people do fit into different categories. For me, like, I just wanted to play sport. I was bodily kinesthetically intelligent, right? But that wasn't really geared up to the way school was set up. So out of these 9, type in the chat box, which 2 of these were put on a pedestal to be shown as, if you are good at these 2, this is the intelligence that we're here to promote at school. This is what's going to get you further in life. I mean, I don't know about you, but nobody at school told me that my ability for spatial awareness was suddenly going to make me a millionaire one day. Like, it just wasn't recognized at school. So type in the chat box, which of these 2 do you feel are the ones that are put on a pedestal at school, the ones that are held in highest regard? Type in the chat box. Type in the chat box. I've had Margaret say I'm cutting out a little bit. Can you all hear me? If not, I'll put some headphones on.
I can hear you quite well, Blake, so there's no problem from my side. So I will let you also give the answer to this question you put out there. Steve's come back in with logical, mathematical, and linguistic. Laura, logical, mathematical. Charlie, logical and linguistic. And Charlie can hear us. Thanks for that, Charlie. Appreciate that. Karen, logical and mathematical. Yes, we've got a few answers in there. Seems to be a bit of a running theme.
Nice. And they've nailed it, because school is about logical, mathematical, and linguistic. Those are the 2 that are held up on a pedestal. And if you happen to be good at those 2 through, you know, no disrespect, but no skill of your own, like, we're all born with intelligences, like, you're lucky if those 2 were your types of intelligence. So again, that's just another dimension to school that when we look back, we're like, hang on, like, what if I was intelligent in one of the other 7 areas? You know, school didn't really cater for me, so maybe those things were never developed. Another element to school is, you know, there were 3 types of learning style as well. So some people learn by seeing, some by hearing, and some by doing. This is the way that we consume information. This is the way that we learn things. So a sportsman would generally be kinesthetic, like their predominance, their natural predominance for their style of learning would be kinesthetic, which means if you kick them a football, they'd kick the ball a few times and they'd start learning just by doing it. Whereas somebody who's more auditory is less likely to be would learn to play, kick a football by somebody telling them instructions, which doesn't fit so well with sport, right? And somebody who likes to see a demonstration will obviously need to see the demonstration of how to kick a football, but that before they can do it. So there's no right or wrong with any of these, but does school cater to these 3 learning styles? If you were to think, if you were to pick one of these 3 learning styles, and there is one, certainly as I was at school, I'm sure it's better now, but there is one of these which most of school, or the way things are taught at school, are done. Which one would it be? Funnily enough, if you look at play school and nursery, like, they're way better at covering all 3 of these, way better. But suddenly when we get to adult school, there's a predominance towards one way. It's more of the old school way of doing it. So which one do you think it is? Type in the chat box. Told you it was going to be interactive. Which one of these three does school tend to focus on as a way of teaching? What have we got coming in, Dan?
I've got Charlie's already come in. School is possibly more auditory. Yeah, oh, hang on. Everybody's come in with auditory. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Laura. Yeah.
So true. So true, right? School is predominantly taught in an auditory fashion, which is great if you are the type of person who can read a book, right? The words on the page, like read a history book and learn it in that way. You put a book in front of me as I was a kid, like it just doesn't really make much sense to me. You threw me a tennis ball or threw me a football, like I got that. I could learn that kinesthetically, but the way I learned was not auditory. And so I struggled at school, and it just made me feel like I was stupid because the way things were taught didn't click with me. So again, like, what does that all lead to? See, if we look at some of the famous faces in the world, like I mentioned Einstein earlier, Einstein wasn't able to speak until he was almost 4 years old, and his teachers said he would never amount to much. Walt Disney lacked imagination. Oprah Winfrey wasn't fit for TV. Michael Jordan was dropped from his high school basketball team. Steve Jobs was removed from his company, and the Beatles were told that they had no future in show business. So like, I just feel that by the time we end up leaving school, and by the time it's early adulthood, we end up with an element of confusion. Like, I feel like, we started when we were young as kids, and we started as either the fox and the duck and the dog, fox, dog and the birds, and then we were put into a system which lauded only 2 types of intelligence out of 9. So if you're lucky to be one of those 2, then good on you. You're lucky. And if you happen to be an auditory learner versus a visual or a kinesthetic learner, then even better, because school catered for you. But what about the rest of people? We were just sort of herded through in a way that by the time we got to early adulthood, we had to choose a profession for the rest of our lives, which, it just doesn't seem to make sense to me. Like I say, look, I'm very grateful for the schooling that I had, but what we've learned in the last 15 years about psychotherapy, about behavior, about happiness, about success, needs to be put into the school system, because I feel people come out of school unprepared for real life and with no direction as to what they truly want to do for themselves. As a little example, in fact, most of the successful people I know, my friends, they don't do your traditional jobs. They don't do your traditional jobs, but still at my school that I went to this day, a friend of mine, Lloyd, who's a theatre director in the West End, London, he went back to school to Careers Day, right, back to my old school, because he wanted to help people out and give people an insight into the theatre industry. And to this day, still there is a banner which says careers and a banner which says alternative careers. So even to this day, theatre, music, art are considered alternative careers, which is just, to me, nonsense, because the happiest people I know are in those types of careers. Okay, so that's just a precursor. I'm not saying that we'll all have related to everyone, but I think it makes us think, right? I hope it makes us think about how we were shaped. Not how we chose to be shaped as a child, but how we were shaped. And perhaps we may see how we lost bits of ourselves along the way. So I'd like to type in the chat box, what's been the most valuable so far? Did you pick up anything from those stories, from sort of looking back to childhood, and did it make you think of anything? Did it make you see anything that you may have lost along the way? If you're like me, when I learned a lot of this stuff, I look back and I was pretty pissed off, to be honest. I felt like school had failed me in a way. I've had a great time. I just don't think it prepared me, and it didn't teach me how to be the true version of myself. So type in what's been the most valuable so far. Dan, over to you.
Very good. Charlie, straight in there. Value is in the 9 types of intelligence. Real eye-opener. Pleased with that. That's fantastic. Thank you very much, Charlie. MT. How inspired I was and not knowing who I was or what I wanted. Well, let's hope this is something that will give you that. Open your eyes. I'm sure by now you've probably got some insight into that, but who have we got next? Just waiting for a couple more. Here we go. Thank you very much, Karen. It's given me some enlightenment as to who I am now and why. So that's fantastic. Pleased at that. And I think you'll find the next section that Blake's going to go into is going to really help you to sort of continue to discover that. So thank you very much for that, Karen. And Laura, here we are. Really enjoyed the 9 types of intelligence. I definitely wasn't what school needed. Thank you.
But you are what the world needs. So we're going to work out what that is and help you guys to reconnect a bit more with your true selves. So I'm going to skip that one. Okay, so here we go. We're going to put our detective hats on. This is where, be as interactive as you can, please. This is for you. But we've got some rules for uncovering the true you. All right, so rule number 1. Remove all ego. Okay, so what is ego? Ego is when we do things to look good, right? If we make decisions because we want to look good in front of people, we make decisions because we just want the money so we can look cool. We want those types of clothes. Like, it gives you a short-term happiness, but it is not how to be the true you. So as we go through these next section, please remove all ego and just respect that nobody's watching you. Like, the tendency is to feel like, oh, my mates will be so impressed when I get that car, or really impressed when I get that house. They're not. They're too busy with their own lives. So remove all ego. Number 2, do what's right for you. This is huge. So those of you who watched webinars before, you will have heard me mention a lady called Bronnie Ware. Now, Bronnie Ware was an Australian nurse, a palliative care nurse, and she studied people, or she helped people in the last months of their lives, and she started asking them about their lives, and she wrote an article about what the regrets were, the biggest regrets were of people in the final stages of their lives. And number 1 out of all regret, right, number 1 was, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. So look, it may not always be easy to make a decision that seems selfish, but ultimately you do have to do what's right for you. It's said that the definition of hell on earth is, on your final day on this planet, meeting the person you could have been. That's something that drives me massively. Like, I'm scared of regret, and I use that as a good fear, to live my life the way I truly want to live. So just to remind you, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Number 3, go with your gut and be patient. I know that's sort of 2, but there's a rule of 3 looks better, so I've clubbed them together. So go with your gut and be patient. Like, I have a real belief that people, deep down, intuition-wise, they know what's right for them. But we let ego or fear get in the way. But go with your gut. That's not to say you're always right. But over the long run, I believe if you go with your gut, you can't be wrong. And remember this, why you do what you do is more important than what you do. Why you do what you do is more important than what you do. You know, Dan and I have a passion to bring personal development to the Middle East. We have a passion to create an environment and the education within which people can thrive. Right? We have a real drive for that, and it's not based around money. Right? The reasons why we do that are far deeper. Like, you know, Dan's got a kid. Dan's a fabulous dad, and he really wants to learn more about human behavior and psychology so that he can become the best father he can possibly be. So he has a very, very deep why. You know, I have a very deep why because I went through the mental meltdown of being completely lost in my life. So now I want to help others avoid that. So please remember these rules as we go through the next bits. But this is where we're going to get more interactive. And we're going to start with 3 questions to kickstart the detective process. So we'll go through them quite quickly. Go with your first reaction. Please type them in the chat box. Like I say, you're not going to walk away suddenly knowing everything that's right for you, but all of these little techniques are used to just start uncovering, bit by bit, unwrapping the true you. So are we ready? Here's the 3-question kickstart. I'll bring up the first one, type it into the chat box. We don't have to read out the names, we'll just read out some of the answers, and then we'll move on to the next one. So here we go, the 3-question kickstart. First, what do I want to experience in life? Go. Whatever that question means to you, type in the chat box. What do I want to experience in life? Ink it, don't think it. So just type it in. Don't filter what's coming from your head. Just go with your gut. Don't write down what you think might sound cool. I want to experience a private jet. Yeah, well, we all do. But what do you really want to experience in life?
Right.
Dan, without reading the names.
No, I won't read the names. I've got a few people coming in already. Happiness, enjoy, fun, happiness, travel, love, happiness, fulfillment, consistency there. Thank you, everybody. I think that's
lovely. Very good. Okay, question. How do I want to grow? How do I want to grow? So in what areas of your life do you want to grow, and in what way? What's important to you? Growth's one of our biggest human needs, right? So how do I want to grow? Type in the chat box. How do I want to grow? How do I want to grow?
So I've got a couple coming in here through personal development, education, through experience. Personally, I want to push outside of my comfort zone, as this gives me a sense of growth, knowledge to better myself and to help others. These are great, really, really good ones coming through.
How do you want to grow, Dan?
I want to grow as a better father, better husband, and on a personal level, more self-development in nutrition, better understand health. And that's really back to being a better father and better husband. I can provide back to them. So that's my thing, really. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Good. Thanks for that. Cool. Next one. What do I want to contribute to the planet? Yeah, I know this sounds a little bit, maybe a bit big, bit out there, a bit woo-woo. But look, at the end of the day, we need a mission that's bigger than ourselves. We need to be connected to something that's bigger than ourselves. Again, I like this, nothing to do with religion, right? But Steve Jobs did not set out to create computers. He set out to support and inspire genius, right? That was his bigger mission. And a mission like that is something that we'll never complete it, but it's something bigger than ourselves that helps us to decide what we do with our lives. So what do I want to contribute to the planet? What have we got coming in?
We've got a few coming in here. well-mannered and respectful children. I think that's a fantastic thing. We've got love and light. That's beautiful. Helping to save it in my own small way. That's fantastic. To give back to my local community, help others whom I can. By being a person that facilitates others to being the best version of themselves.
Nice one.
There's a little more to that one. Sorry, to themselves, that they can be it, that they can be my children or clients. Sorry, it's just jumped in there. There's some lovely ones there.
Oh.
Contributing to saving it.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, cool. So that's just a little Kickstarter. Probably no lightning bolts of wisdom there, but just a little Kickstarter. So, next few little questions. The past leaves clues. Like, I swear, like, my mum's amazing. She must think I'm thick though, because I've asked her these questions in the past, like about, what did I used to do as a child, Mum? What did I just naturally do? And actually, I'll finish that story in a second, because when you understand how I finally found my purpose, then you'll realize, that the past really does leave clues. So before I get to that, here we go. Here's a couple of questions. Do the first one first. What do you do for pleasure? Type in the chat box, what do you do for pleasure? What do you do for pleasure? If you weren't paid for it, if you had a week off next week, what would you do for pleasure? And I'm not just talking about go on holiday. What are the things you would do? What are the activities you would do? What are the activities you would do? It's funny, so many clients I've worked with, when I ask them what they love to do for pleasure, their face lights up and they can list a bunch of stuff.
There's already a few coming quite quickly, actually, Blake. Sports, photography, shooting, windsurfing, golf, cycling. Great list. Here's a fantastic one. Making millions and millions of candles.
He's a very talented candle maker.
Cooking, meditation, more time with kids and having fun. Lovely ones, really nice ones.
It's funny when you ask people what they love doing, often they come up with it pretty quickly, and then you say to them, oh, great, so you love playing golf. When was the last time you played? Oh, I haven't done it for 6 months. Well, surely the purpose of life is happiness. And yeah, I know life is busy. I know there's work, but we have to make time to do the things we love.
Like baking.
Right. Baking, yeah.
Baking, yes.
Good. All right. What's the third one? The third thing is, if we were to ask your parents and your friends to describe you, if we were to ask them to give us some character traits about you, or some things you liked to do, how would they describe you? And I'm going to really suggest you do this afterwards. You call your parents or friends or text them and just say, hey, I did this with my mum. Like I said, what did I just used to do as I was a kid? What did I just always love to do? What did you think I would always become? And as you know, nowadays, I'm a coach, and it sort of took me probably to the age of 30 to work out that that's what I was going to do. But when I asked my mum what I always did, she was like, yeah, but your first job was a coach, Blake. Like, your first qualification was a cricket coach, then you became a hockey coach, and then you started coaching tennis. Like, at what point did you not realize that was what you're going to do, right? My mum's amazing, right? So I'm just joking with her. I'm paraphrasing the conversation, but she's incredibly supportive, always has been. But look, the past leaves clues. And probably deep down, you sort of know some of the things you do want. So what's popped up for you? If we were to ask your parents, your friends, how would they describe you? What would they say that you love to do? Oh, I tell you what, she was always organizing people. She just loved to organize. Or I just love to cook, or she's always creative. What are some of the things? Type in the chat box. What are some of the things that they might say? What have we got coming in, Dan?
Yeah, just had a couple come in there. We've got Steve said photography. Very good. Tenacious, meticulous, compassionate, driven, creative, and inventive. Sorry. You must have been an incredible little girl there, Catherine. They would have said friendly yet very competitive. Never stopped and loved playing sport. That's for Charlie.
Yeah.
Always taking pictures from Steve. Driven, impatient, determined from MT. That's a good one. Making perfumes and potions out of leaves and dirt in my back garden. From Laura. Hang on, there's another bit on that. I'm just waiting for that to come through. You have to. It's not come through probably, right. But carry on, Blake.
Good. Hey, Charlie, it maybe sounds like the golf thing's a good thing, eh? Good. Right, so just in that last section, type in the chat box what's been most valuable so far, what's come up for you, because what we're going to go into next is going to give you a bit more guidance. Those are just questions to get us thinking, but the next step are going to give us a bit more structure. So what's the biggest thing so far? I like that first one a lot. Dan, what's coming in?
Bear with me, it's not coming into mine at the moment, Blake, so if you would mind reading out the first couple.
Permission to lose the ego. Love that. Permission to lose the ego. Somebody, because one of my first mentors was Ozzy, and he was pretty direct because I know him well. You know, the way I finally got over my own ego was he said, Blake, you know, nobody cares about you. Nobody gives a stuff, right? Nobody cares. Nobody's watching you, mate. You know, and when I realized that wasn't a bad thing, that like I could turn around to my parents and say, hey, I want to be an accountant, I want to be a coach, or I want to be a chef. Like, they don't really care. As long as I'm happy, they don't care what I do. Ultimately, whatever I choose to do with my life, I have to do it to make myself happy and to serve others. You know, when I realize nobody's watching me and nobody cares how big my house is, nobody cares how big my car is, when I realized, you know, to me, I find that very liberating. I don't mean that as in nobody cares for you emotionally, but, you know, just found that liberating. So what else has popped in, Dan?
Well, I appreciate your call there, Charlie. I wanted to comment on Blake's accent there, so thank you there, Blake. Great Robbo accent, Blake, from Charlie. So slightly off that, but thank you very much. Permission to just be myself from Karen, fantastic. Understanding what I'd really like to give to the planet, ensuring my kids can... apologies, it's not come through fully from Steve anyway, but here, can be the best that they can. I feel you, Steve. That's exactly where I want. That's where I come from. So thank you very much for that.
Great. Okay, so let's move on to the next steps, which I hope is going to start clarifying it. Like I said, what I'm going to share with you now is a process that helps you to uncover and unwrap your passions over time. So here we go. Who's seen this before? This is the wheel of life. So let's take a step back and let's just remember that life isn't just our career, right? You are much more than just your career. And, you know, nowadays I feel like people, when you get introduced to people, they ask you, oh, so what do you do? As if that's who you are. Oh, you're an accountant. Oh, right. Well, I've got a bunch of stereotypes in my head about that, so I know exactly who you are as a person. Of course, that's not how it works. So we've got to take a step back and realize that we've got several different areas of our lives. And in this model, we're saying 8 different areas. Okay, so it's not, look, if your career isn't perfect, but everything else is doing pretty well, chances are you're going to be pretty damn happy, right? However, if you've got 2 or 3 of these areas which are low, then if we were to put this wheel on a bike, that journey would be pretty bumpy, right? So we want to look for a smooth ride, and we want to look for balance in each areas of these. So if your health was low, your career was low, and your social life was low, it's likely to really affect you. And so look, we don't all need to be the next Steve Jobs, but we all tend to look at this career part as if it is our main part. But there's so much more to you. There is so much other areas that you can be happy with. You know, like I know Dan on a weekend is such a great family man, and he spends so much time with his son and his wife down at the beach, you know, just really nurturing him and spending that time, right? And tell me if I'm wrong, Dan, but that makes you happy, right? You know, and so you know, we've got many different areas of our life. So this wheel is always changing, it's always shifting. I'd recommend checking in on this every couple of weeks just to see where we're low. So here we take a pen and paper for me. We're going to do it really quickly now. Take a pen and paper and write down the left: finance, PG, personal growth, health, family, relationships, social life, attitude, and career. It doesn't need to be neat, and don't answer them just yet. There's a little rule we're going to use about this. Don't answer them just yet. This is just going to be a little, what's the word? When we take an inventory, it's like an inventory of where we're at the moment. So the little rule is we're going to go through them quickly, one at a time. You've got to answer within 2 seconds. Go with your gut. Don't filter or go, well, what I'd like to tell everybody is that my finances is actually 9 out of 10, but deep down you know it's a 3. So you don't have to type these into the chat box. In fact, don't type these into the chat box. But I'm going to read them out one at a time, and you're going to answer within 2 seconds. Are we ready? So, from a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate your finance? Go. From a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate your personal growth? Go. From a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your health? Go. From a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate your family? Go. Your family life. From a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate your relationships? Go. From a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate your social life? Go. From a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your attitude? Go. And on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your career or your business? Go. Okay. So without sharing names and without sharing specific numbers, I want you to pick the 3 that were your lowest and type it in the chat box. And Dan, don't read out the names. You know, there's no purpose on that. This is not about highlighting where you're doing badly. But we just want to look at, you know, what would your 3 major areas where if you could improve those, like sometimes our social life gets a little low and we go, do you know what? I know Dan, for example, for these next 4 weeks, you've got a little goal, don't you, Dan, with regards to reconnection or something?
Yeah, I've got set myself the 4-week challenge. I'm sure some of you are familiar with this. So I've got my various things that I've got to accomplish on a weekly basis, and some of those include things like meditation and my daily journal. So yeah, it's exactly, Blake.
And you were going to reconnect with one old friend every...
Oh, yes. Sorry, I haven't gone through that. So I was trying to, throughout the month, was each week try to connect with 2 old friends. I was fortunate enough to catch up with an old friend of mine who I hadn't seen for 17 years. I'm sure those of you who've had friends like that and you've just lost touch, but the moment you see each other again, it's like you never left each other's side type thing. So I saw the value. It reminded me of the value, and so that's part of one of the things that I'd set myself in this 4-week challenge, was to try to connect with old friends. It's a wonderful thing. There's a reason why they were once there.
Yeah, Great. So if we find that one area is a little bit low, like social life, if Dan felt it was a little bit low at that time, you go, okay, well, what are some simple things I can do? Reconnect with 2 friends every week for the next month, and it just takes the social life back up to 8, 9, or 10, right? So without reading the names, what are some of the things that we need to focus on, Dan? What's coming through?
Finance, relationships, social life. I'll read exactly what it says. I won't say the name. It says, bugger me, I need to do some work, career, social, finance. You know who you are. Relationships, social life, finance, social life, personal growth, finance, social life, relationships. There's a few social lives in there. I feel you.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? Like so often we think that we are what we do when it comes to our job. That is not what defines you. Like, not everybody does have a career that they absolutely love, but if their social life and their relationships, their family, their health, their personal growth, and everything else is in balance, then we can really find true happiness. So look, I'm gonna go through a technique now, which you won't have time to do it all now, but I just really highly, highly, highly recommend that you do this afterwards in your time. I'm going to share you how to do it, and then really hope for your own sake that you go and do this in your spare time. This is something that I do on a regular basis, and I do it every few months. So I'll take you through it. So we now know we've got, say, 8 different areas in life. What is the quickest way to work out what we want? What is the quickest way to work out what we want in an area of life? I don't know if you've noticed, but so many people are really, really good at telling you what they don't want. Oh, what do you want from a relationship? Well, I tell you what I don't want. Well, I don't want this. I don't want someone like that. No, 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 no. I don't want this. Don't want that. And so actually, the brain's very good at doing that. So we use that to our advantage, and we work out a list of don't wants. So look, in this next slide, I've worked on health. Okay, so if I were to sit down and say, what don't I want when it comes to health? These are just some examples. You'll have to use use your own words. But we write down, what don't I want? I'm sick, I'm overweight, I'm constantly tired, I eat a lot of junk food, I hate exercise, I'm a smoker, I'm too busy to exercise, I hate water and vegetables, right? That's what I don't want to be like. So we completely do all our don't wants first, and from our don't wants, we can actually work out what we do want in each area of life. So, well, actually, if I don't want that, then what do I want? I'm perfectly healthy, I'm slim and a size 14, I'm full of energy, I find it easy to eat healthy food, I enjoy regular exercise, I'm a non-smoker, I usually find time for regular exercise, I enjoy things that are good for me. So, once we've done that with one area of life, I mean, that's quite easy, right, guys? That's pretty simple. Don't expect lightning bolts here of wisdom. Like, just go with what you think you don't want at the moment and turn it to what you want. Over time, like I said, these take time to unwrite. Over time, you can adjust these and you will start discovering what you truly want. It will take you down a path that will give you more and more and more clarity. But we have to start somewhere, and this is the easiest place to start. So once we've done that with health, what can we do? We can go to, don't want to do this around finance. What don't you want? I don't want to have not enough money. I don't want to always be paying bills. I don't want money flow to be sporadic. I never win anything. So these are beliefs that, these are the don't wants. So again, we turn them into wants. What do you want? I want abundance of money. I want my bills to be paid easily and quickly. I always want to have an excess of money. And so on and so forth. Once we've done finance, I think you get in the picture here, guys, and it will take you time to do this, but it's absolutely worth it. If you want to be true to yourself and you really want to work out what you want in life, this is just such a simple exercise. This is step 1, and as you keep doing this, you'll get closer and closer. So don't want and do want for family. Well, if you don't have a family, maybe one of your wants is I have a spouse and beautiful kids. I don't want to not have time with my family. I don't want my children to be brats. I want to have well-behaved children. So again, we turn our don't wants into wants. Final example, career or job or business. What don't you want? See, everybody does have different requirements. Like when I work through this with Dan, like when we talk about our business, we don't want, we don't have the desire to have 1 million staff. Like it's not, some people want that. They want a big company. Like we don't want that. That's our don't want. So what do we want? We want a lean, high quality, world-class team. That's what we want, right? So what don't you want? And then turn it into what you do want. Now, of course, when you go through this, this isn't going to mean that you suddenly have all of this today. Like, of course not. But the purpose of doing this is once we've first got to get clear on at least what we think we want to start with, so that we can go about attracting that into our lives. Like I said, most people focus on what they don't want. I don't want this, I don't want that, don't want that. But when we get clear on all 8 areas of our life and we start with these are what we want, then we can start creating a clear picture of what our values are, what is going to make us happy and what we want. So here's, so we create the 8 areas, the want list, but then what do we do next? Before I go on to what we're going to do next, are there any questions about that? I know I went through that quickly. That's not an exercise that you need to perfect, right? You've got to give it a go. You've got to be kind to yourself and now allow yourself to give it a bash. Nobody's going to read it. It doesn't need to be perfect. You can make as many mistakes as you like. And as time goes on, you'll realize you'll start ticking things off the list. And you went, do you know what? That thing that I said I wanted, I'm not sure I actually want that. I'm not sure that is actually a value of mine. So you can get rid of it. Like I said, this is a process. Charlie asked, so how often should we do this? I'll answer that question after the next bit, if that's all right, Charlie. Because I think you can do the Wheel of Life every couple of weeks or every month, because it can be done in 2 minutes, right? But the next part takes a little bit longer. So look, at this point in an ideal world, what we do is we have 8 areas of our lives and we have a list of wants in each area. What do we do with it next? Is we turn it into a desire statement, or what we call an intention statement. Okay, so before you start reading that, let me explain it a little bit. A desire statement is a story, and it's a story based around what we want from our lives. So if we look at the example, I love how I have a great group of friends around me that fully support me. This has been written from somebody's want list. Yeah, this has come straight from somebody's want list. The want list has been turned into a story that covers all 8 areas. So this first bit's about the friends, right? I love how I have a great group of friends around me that fully support me. People are fueling my vision and constantly giving me belief that I have amazing skills and that I do what it takes to make things happen. I have heaps of time on my hands and I love being productive and getting high value tasks done. I love watching minimum TV and always find something more productive to do. My energy is something else. People ask me, where do I get my energy from? Everything happens easily around me. I'm always winning competition and everyone thinks I'm the luckiest person in the world. If we look a little bit lower, it says, I see money everywhere. I have a very deep respect for money. I love money and money loves me. My clients are sticking around for a long time and constantly referring me new clients. So you can see this bottom part has come from the money, finances aspect of the want list. So this desire statement needs to be written. There are a few rules to do it. This is your story. We have to place it in the future, 12 months to 3 years. It has to be realistic. So if you're broke at the moment, don't write in there, it's December 2017 and I have £1 billion in my bank account. Like, it's just not realistic, and well, secondly, that's not going to make you happy. So it's got to be realistic. It has to be from the heart. That talks about it being from your gut, from your heart, not ego. You have to write it in in the present tense. So the way I actually start my desire statements is I write, it is 1st of January 2018. Right, as an example. It is the 1st of January 2018, and I've had an amazing year over the last year. We have built our business to over 20 clients, and I'm really grateful for the connections we built with our clients. That sort of stuff, right? So we write from the heart, we write it in the present tense, we use positive words. So you'll see in this example on the left, I'm the luckiest person in the world, my energy is something else, I'm always winning competitions. Because we want this, when we read this every morning, yes, every morning, we want it to excite us. And we want to be reminded every single day of what's important to us in all 8 areas of our lives. By getting clear, by using this every day, by getting clear on what we want in every area of our life, we start attracting it. We start seeing evidence that supports our belief. We start attracting opportunities that are congruent with what we want, because we've told our brain what to look out for. We've told it what we want. We went, look, we did this. We looked at the 8 areas of our life, and actually we know what we want. And what you'll find is over time, you'll get clearer and clearer and clearer on what you want. So whenever I do a new one of these and I start reading it, always like the first week or so, there are a few bits that just don't sit quite right with me, so I cross them out, I change them, and this is the whole point of the process. If something doesn't fit quite with you, you're like, actually, no, I'm not sure that is what I want. It just doesn't feel quite right to me. So we change it. And every 6 months or so, we can write a new one. And we can put our goals in here, and we can put our affirmations in here. But this process, this daily process of reading your story and reconnecting with what you want in all areas of your lives will absolutely shift the way you show up in the world. So, I know I rushed through that. We don't have time for you to do it all online today. So we're almost at the hour, but what I'd love you to do is, we will stick around for questions afterwards for those of you who want to stick around. But please type in the chat box what's been most valuable to you so far, but also what's your commitment, because with no new action, there is no new result. I've been so guilty of this in the past, of learning cool theory and then doing nothing with it afterwards. I've been guilty in the past of buying amazing self-development books, right? And then going home and putting it on my shelf. And, as I was taught, that is not self-development, that is shelf development. So what's your commitment? What's your commitment off the back of this? What are you going to go and do differently? Or are you just going to stick in the same habits, same rituals? So Dan, what have we got? Let's have some public accountability here. What have we got? What have we got coming?
Very good. I'm naming as well. So commit to writing a desire statement and regularly reading it. Thank you very much, Laura. Steve's come in saying, I'll commit to drawing up my wants and create a desire statement. Thank you. From Charlie, my commitment is to do the don't want list and to then write a new desire statement. Here we go from MT. Need to determine who I truly am and what the I want. Can't read out that. Thank you very much.
And going through this process of the desire statement will help you uncover that. Like, you won't get the lightning bolt, but starting with this will help guide you towards who you truly are and what the you want.
And the last one I've got come through, a couple more. Catherine, thank you very much. To revisit my original desire statement. Great, you've already been through this, so you know the process and the value of it. To start thinking about an action plan with, let's just wait it to come in there. have to come back in a sec. Catherine, finish yours off. I'm just waiting for that to come through. Karen's come in. Be honest with myself and commit to doing the wheel of life and work out exactly what I want in my life.
Just on a quick one on that, Karen. I'm not sure we ever know exactly what we want. It sounds like a perfectionist talking a little bit, you know. It's okay not to know exactly what we want. You know, life is a balance between making things happen and letting things happen. That's Arianna Huffington's quote, not mine. It's a dance between making things happen and letting things happen. So just start, be kind to yourself, start with the wheel of life, start by writing what you think, what you guess, what you're guessing you want in each area, and just go with that and improve it as we go. So good. Look, I hope that has helped you all. I hope that's given you a bit of a process or perhaps an understanding initially about why we may have been, you know, what influenced us in our earlier years, but then now what we can do in our later years to reconnect with who we truly are and the process that we can use to do that. So we'll stick around for a couple of questions, but for those of you who are off, thanks for turning up. Hope you got value. See you at the next one next week, and all the best.
Thank you very much, everybody, from my side. Thank you. Have a lovely day. Lovely night.
Okay, cool. Charlie, okay, you got a question. Okay, if the wheel of life is lowish in a number of areas, is it better to try to work on the areas that are in 5 to 7 and then after work on the lower numbers afterwards? Interested in your thoughts. I don't think there's any 100% right answer to that, Charlie. What I would say is, where are the quick wins? Right, so something like finances might take longer to impact, but you know, like Dan's technique, he realized social was perhaps a little bit low, not disastrous, but maybe a little bit lower, and he just thought, you know what, if I just connect with 2 people each week for the next month, that's gonna hit me up a couple of notches, right? So that was an easy thing for Dan to do, and a great example of, you know, if there's something that's a 5 to 7 on your list that's quite easy to do, then let's focus on those. Some of the things will take longer, some of the things will take shorter. So I think you can focus on more than one at a time. Does that help? Without knowing exactly the ones you're talking about. Some things are quicker to influence, some things take a longer time. Okay. Thanks, Steve. Thanks for showing up. Thanks, Catherine. Thanks, Karen. Good. Thanks, Charlie. Good. A few more goodbyes. Thank you. Wonderful. Cool. If there are no more questions, then we shall wrap it up and say adieu till next time. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.